Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We know that, sadly, after such atrocities as we've seen, intolerance often increases, Islamophobia, anti-Semitism and racism. Will the Prime Minister agree with me that it's vital that everyone in public life, particularly we as politicians, are careful how we discuss these issues? And will he also join with me in making it very clear that the dreadful events of terrorism in Paris have nothing in common whatsoever with the 2 million British Muslims in this country who are as appalled as anyone else by the events in Paris last Friday?
I'm happy to join the right honourable gentleman in that. In fact, some of the strongest and best statements following the Paris attacks have been made by a whole series of British Muslims coming together to say that these attacks are in no way carried out in their name. But I do think, and we talked about this yesterday, it raises an important issue, which is it cannot be said often enough that these butchers of ISIL are no reflection of the true religion of Islam, which is a religion of peace. But at the same time, we do have to recognise that whether these terrorists are in Tunisia or in Egypt or in Paris or in London, they spout the same bile that they claim comes from the religion of Islam. And that is why we have to take apart what they say and prove that's not the case. But it's not good enough to say there's no connection between these terrorists and Islam. They're making a connection. We need to prove it's not right. And as we do so, the support of Muslim communities, Muslim scholars, is absolutely vital, and I commend them for their work.
We're not quite close enough to an election for the Obama administration to blame the Paris attacks on a YouTube video. So for now at least, everyone is acknowledging that these were bona fide terrorist attacks, not protests that got a little out of hand. But given that these were terrorist attacks, we still have to ask, what caused these attacks? Was it A, climate change, B, income inequality, C, Islamophobia, D, joblessness, E, Starbucks coffee cups, or F, Muhammad's repeated commands to wage terrorist attacks? Thanks to the power of social media to spread complete nonsense, we've all been assured that the answer can't have anything to do with Muhammad, because the Quran supposedly declares that if anyone kills a man, it's as if he has killed all mankind. I see this same verse misquoted over and over again. Here's an example. And another. And another, and some more, and some more, and some more. Notice two remarkable things about this verse of the Quran. One, no one ever quotes the entire verse, and two, no one ever quotes the verse that comes after it. Why do the people who quote this verse leave most of it out? And why don't they ever quote the verse that comes after it? It's because if you read the passage without leaving something out, you'll immediately see that it actually commands the sorts of attacks that we just saw in Paris. Let's read chapter 5, verse 32 and see what our friends omitted. Because of that, we ordained for the children of Israel, Allah ordained for the children of Israel, that if anyone killed a person not in retaliation of murder or to spread mischief in the land, it would be as if he killed all mankind. And if anyone saved a life, it would be as if he saved the life of all mankind. And indeed, there came to them our messengers with clear proofs, evidences, and signs. Even then, after that, many of them continued to exceed the limits. Halali and Khan add as commentary, e.g. by doing oppression unjustly and exceeding beyond the limits set by Allah by committing the major sins in the land. So the Quran says that this teaching was ordained for the children of Israel, the Jews. In fact, we know exactly where this comes from in the Jewish writings. This verse quotes the Talmud, Mishnah Sanhedrin, chapter 4, which was a popular passage among the Jews of Arabia during Muhammad's time. It's kind of ironic that the most peaceful verse in the entire Quran happens to be a quotation from the Jewish Talmud. In Surah 5, verse 32, Allah explains what was ordained for the Jews. So, what did Allah ordain for Muslims? The answer is found in the very next verse. Surah 5, verse 33 declares, The recompense of those who wage war against Allah and against His messenger and do mischief in the land is only that they shall be killed or crucified, or their hands and their feet be cut off from opposite sides, or be exiled from the land. That is their disgrace in this world, and in a great torment is theirs in the hereafter. Verse 32 is about what Jews are supposed to do in the land that Allah gave them. Verse 33 is about what Muslims are supposed to do if someone commits the vague crime of doing mischief. If you do mischief in a Muslim land, Muslims are supposed to kill you or crucify you, or for lesser crimes, chop off body parts or exile you. So what counts as mischief? Lots of things: apostasy, preaching a religion other than Islam, adultery, becoming too westernized, things like that. If you violate Sharia, you're making mischief. By opposing Sharia, you've declared war on Allah, and you have to pay. The most extreme form of mischief, of course, is launching a military attack against a Muslim community. That's definitely a death penalty. Now, according to Islamic teachings, not according to your opinion, according to Islamic teachings, has France made any mischief in Muslim countries? Yes, a lot. And according to Surah 5, verse 33, what's the penalty for the actions of the French military because of what the French military has done in Muslim lands? Death. So French military personnel are obviously under a death sentence. What about French civilians? Well, in Sunan ibn Majah 2759 and Sahih al-Bukhari 2843, Mohamad said that people who equip soldiers receive the same reward as the soldiers. In other words, it's not just the soldiers who are guilty and deserve death, it's also the people who fund the military, the people who pay the bills so that soldiers can be soldiers. They're just as responsible, according to Mohamad. So, who pays for the French military to make mischief in Muslim countries? The French government, which is funded by French taxpayers, ordinary French civilians. So if the average French civilian is just as responsible for causing problems in Muslim countries as the French soldiers who fight in Muslim countries, what's the penalty? Death. Now think about this. Surah 5, verse 33 of the Quran justifies attacks not only against French military targets, but also against everyone who supports the French military in any way. This verse justifies the terrorist attacks that just killed well over 100 people in Paris. But instead of quoting verse 33, Islam's Western apologists go to the verse before it. They cut out the part about this being a teaching of the children of Israel, a quotation from the Talmud, and they claim that their severely edited, distorted verse, ripped from its context, proves that Islam is a religion of peace and tolerance, and that anyone who does what the very next verse commands is not a true Muslim. Now, what does this sort of misrepresentation and deception ultimately accomplish? It's great for convincing westernized Muslims who don't bother reading the text that their religion condemns terrorist attacks, and it's great for convincing non-Muslims who don't bother reading the text that Islam condemns terrorist attacks. But twisting and distorting a Quran passage until it means the exact opposite of what it actually says will never change the minds of the people who read the text and are willing to do what it says. So the only thing these social media campaigns can hope to achieve is to lull us all to sleep until the next terrorist attack, a terrorist attack that's inevitable because we never confront the actual ideology that's been driving these attacks for nearly 14 centuries. What can we do to stop the deception and misdirection so that we can eventually have an open, honest discussion about Muhammad's teachings? Lots of things, most of them involving a careful study of the Muslim sources. But one easy step is for you to track down tweets and Facebook posts and comments that mislead people about Surah 5, verse 32 of the Quran until people stop misquoting it. There are only a handful of passages in the Quran that can be stretched into a condemnation of terrorism. The sooner we get past them, the sooner our Muslim friends will have a more accurate picture of Islam so that they can finally decide whether this book is worth following.
Cameron says politicians shouldn't be afraid to talk about it, or to say that Britain is a Christian country. Those who say being a Christian country is doing down other faiths simply don't understand that it's actually easier for people to believe and practice other faiths when Britain has confidence in its Christian identity.
Salamat pagi. Assalamu alaikum. This is a month which demonstrates the true spirit of Islam.
Go to hell! UK, go to hell! British police, go to hell! British police, go to hell!
Where our interests lie, as the West's interests lie, is in neutralizing Iran. We have allowed Iran the time over many years through this farce of talking to people who cannot be talked to pursue its pursuit, to continue with its pursuit of a nuclear bomb with which it intends, it says, to commit genocide against Israel, a state which is declared for the last 25 years war against us. That is the problem. That is the problem, the defeatism of the British people against a clear threat to this country's interests. You are the problem.
I was with you. I was with you all the way. I was with you all the way until you said we've got to neutralise Iran, and then I just. You laugh. Neutralise Iran. The British audience laughs. How trivial of you. How incredibly ignorant of you. Do you not understand what a threat this country is to us? No, you don't.
All right. Melanie,
Paranoia? Paranoia?
Okay, hold on a second. Melanie, wait a minute. All right. All right.
Democracy and Islam can flourish alongside one another.
Democracy, go to hell! Democracy, go to hell! Democracy, you will burn!
We don't want freedom, we want Islam and the Sharia. Nara Takbir! Allah!
The law of the land is Islamic. We respect the law of the land.
What if it's not Islamic?
If it's not Islamic, then the law of the land and those who make it can go to hell, quite honestly. Because
why does she always have to bring it back to Iran and we can't negotiate it with Iran and Israel?
Because it's the most dangerous.
It's very irrational.
How is it? Why is it irrational?
Why can we not deal with Iran?
Why is it irrational?
Where's your evidence that we cannot deal with Iran?
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la British soldiers murderers! British soldiers murderers! British soldiers terrorists! British soldiers terrorists! British soldiers terrorists! British troops murderers! 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 Burn, burn, burn in hell! 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 Burn, burn!
I'll tell you why it's not rational to think you can negotiate with Iran, because Iran is currently run by people who believe, as a matter of religious belief, that if they bring about the apocalypse, if they bring about literally the end of the world...
They have never said that. That's
Would you let me perhaps speak,
false.
or is it entirely rational to stop somebody from speaking?
No, sorry, go ahead.
They believe that if they bring about the apocalypse, they will bring to earth the Shia Messiah. That's the people you're dealing with.
The government want to do with the Muslim population in Great Britain? What's their goal?
Well, it seems like their goal, it seems like they're terrified of them and they pander to them. David Cameron at present, he's like the boy that's been bullied and he's trying to make friends with the bully because he's too scared to stand up to him. They're constantly pandering to Islam and they're constantly worried about what the Islamic community will do and how they will react to anything. And they're always fearful of offending Muslims, whereas in reality, the British public are offended on a daily basis.
Okay. Welcome back. The time's 7:20 now. Now, you may have seen our next guest, Alison Waldock, in the papers today. After dishing up school dinners for 11 years, she was sacked for gross misconduct after serving pork to a Muslim pupil.
That's outrageous, isn't it? We've all made mistakes in our lives and in our jobs. I can imagine 250 kids coming through, chattering, it's noisy, you've got time pressures on you, and mistakes get made. And you know, the reason Alison has been sacked is that we're so terrified in this country of causing offence to anybody, particularly the Muslim religion.
Islam is a great religion, observed peacefully and devoutly by over 1 billion people in our world.
But the fact is, Islam is not a religion of peace. It never has been, it never will be.
Run! Run! Run, you cowards!
The government is treating as an Islamist terror attack the hacking to death of a man in a South London street. The dead man is reported to have been a soldier. Unconfirmed reports say he was decapitated. Whitehall sources say he was attacked by 2 men who first hit him with a car, then used machetes and butcher's knives to kill him. Those sources tell us the men shouted Allahu Akbar.
This was not just an attack on Britain and on the British way of life. It was also a betrayal of Islam and of the Muslim communities who give so much to our country. There is nothing in Islam that justifies this truly dreadful act.
I don't think that it's allowed for Muslims to feel sorry for any non-Muslim who dies. Whether he's part of the army or not part of the army, if he dies in a state of disbelief, then he's going to go to the hellfire. That's what I believe. So, you know, I'm not going to feel sorry for any non-Muslim.
It is an utter perversion of the truth to pretend anything different.
7 explosions now, the Metropolitan Police telling us. I will list them, and you see them there on the map. Edgware Road, King's Cross, Liverpool Street, Russell Square, Aldgate East, Moorgate, and the bus in Tavistock Square.
This is London, 9:47 on a midsummer morning. The terrified voices are those of mourning commuters. Some of them terribly wounded. These images captured by a passer-by moments after the explosion.
And there was a lot of smoke and some bodies and the roof had been torn off the top of the bus, and I only looked for a couple of seconds and then everyone started screaming and we got out as quickly as we could.
I want to send my very best wishes to all the Muslim communities here in Britain and to pay tribute to the enormous contribution that British Muslims have made to our country for generations.
On the question of Islamification, I think we have to do a bit more, probably starting in our schools, to actually teach people of the values of our Judeo-Christian culture, the good that it's done, and all that it's represented over centuries. Because I'm getting a bit tired of my kids coming home from school being taught about every other religion in the world, celebrating every other religious holiday, but not actually being taught about Christianity. Maybe sacking the Archbishop of Canterbury and getting somebody decent would be good. So
Jesus saith unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. Islam is a great religion, observed peacefully and devoutly by over 1 billion people in our world.
Hardline Muslims trying to enforce Sharia law in London, from abstention to amputation. RT's Laura Emmett's been hearing how they want to instill their tough code on the capital.
So we are here to tell you that Islam and the Sharia is unstoppable in Europe.
Stoning for adultery, cutting off hands for stealing, death for renouncing Islam. This group of men is trying to enforce Sharia law in the UK. They've started a campaign to make certain areas of London and other cities Islamic law-controlled zones, starting with Walthamstow, East London.
Muslims will be commanding good and forbidding evil, presenting Islam as an alternative to the Muslim and the non-Muslim community. Ultimately, we believe that Muslims can live together, trade according to the Sharia, resolve their problems according to the Sharia, and even police themselves to a large extent. Hopefully one day to have Islamic Emirates which will have authority locally, security locally, and even provide welfare locally.
Chowdhury and his friends are fly-posting parts of London with large Muslim populations. They want to ban drinking and playing music, and they say they've got bands of young men ready to patrol and enforce Sharia law by any means.
Real estate on London's East End sees little more than commuter trains rumbling past it. But it's the future location of what some say will be the biggest Islamic inroad into Christendom in 400 years. A gigantic mosque complex, the likes of which the West has never seen. This is the site for the proposed mega mosque. That building you see is the present makeshift mosque on an undeveloped piece of property. Well, imagine an immense modern complex, in effect an Islamic village in the heart of London. This video from the website of the mosque architect Ali Mangera shows what will be called the London Markaz, a 17-acre Islamic worship center for as many as 70,000 Muslims. Planned to be the hub of an Islamic quarter for the 2012 London Olympics, it will dwarf many of Britain's Christian cathedrals. But if anything, the problem in Britain is growing. Polls last year showed almost a quarter of British Muslims believe the 7/7 London bombings were justified, and 1 in 3 want to live under Sharia law.
Sisters and brothers, Salam alaikum. Thank you very much for being here, and thank you very much for inviting me back again to tell you that in the years ahead in this country there will be elections for the European Parliament and for British parliaments and councils. I ask every sister and brother to take part in those elections because we want you fully to participate. This is your place. Every country of the world is your country. You are not strangers, you are not aliens, you are part of this country, and we want you to participate fully in this country. But not just as voters. We want you to be the leaders. We want you, like my friend Fayez, who is here, and my friend Ajmal, and my other Muslim friends, to be standing for council, for standing for parliament, for standing for the European Parliament, to be cabinet ministers, to be the Prime Minister. I want the sisters and the brothers, particularly the sisters, to come forward and say, I will lead in the political sphere, because we need you. We need you to lead our politics, and we want you to come forward to be part of that political leadership in this country. Thank you. Stay united. Hold each other's hands, and let's walk with confidence into the future.
It's not enough, as I've said many times, for a party like the Conservatives just to open the door and say, come on in, if all you see is a sea of white Christian faces. You need to see people from your own communities getting to the top of the army, getting to the top of the legal profession, getting to the top of the business, and yes, getting to the top of the Conservative Party and politics too. So the truth is, if we're going to build that strong, vibrant and inclusive society, we need more role models like this. Many more Muslim men and women at the top of British businesses, many more Muslim soldiers in the highest level of command. and of course more Muslims in our parliament. So there's not just one Muslim in the cabinet and one in the shadow cabinet, but British Muslims all across government in positions of leadership and authority.
Because I'm getting a bit tired of my kids coming home from school being taught about every other religion in the world, celebrating every other religious holiday, but not actually being taught about Christianity.
Islam is a great religion. Islam is a great religion. Islam is a great religion.